I think Darwin's ideas have helped to form the framework and the concepts of carcinogenesis, how cancers develop, and 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 therefore how we can begin to detect them and to treat them. So yes, yeah, I think Darwin laid that foundation, and we certainly borrowed a lot of evolutionary theory in the way we approach cancer, and the way we and certainly in the way we study cancer. So imagine, if you will, that there's a cell within a tissue, and we know that our tissues regulate the different types of cells. So let's take an organ like the liver. The liver is composed of many different types of cells, and those cells act together, and they regulate each other, and they keep each other in balance, and make sure that there isn't a cell that begins to overgrow, or that begins to take on self-perpetuating characteristics. But now, let's say that these cells are dividing, which they normally do, and a genetic mutation is introduced during one of those cell divisions that now gives one of the cells the capacity to continue to grow, and to grow independently of its neighbors. A, evolutionary advantage, if you will. That cell now begins to grow at a faster rate. It begins to ignore the messages that it's getting from the cells around it to either stop growing or even to die, and becomes resistant to those messages. And in fact, as it begins to have a faster rate of growth, it takes on new mutations, so complementary or additional mutations, that give it even more of an ability to continue that phenotype. That's effectively cancer. That's what cancer is. And so as that cell begins to develop into one clone after another, the clones that have the advantage are the ones that win out and continue to propagate that cancer. And there may be also mutations along the way that confer a disadvantage, that result in that clone's death. Those are obviously cells that will no longer contribute to the development of the cancer. So with respect to cancer development itself, that the idea of survival of the fittest or an evolution of a specific clone, I think is a theory that's, first of all, generally accepted and has a lot of proof behind it. If we were single-celled organisms, that's exactly what we would be trying to do, is to avoid cell death and to continue to replicate. A single-celled organism, a species of single-celled organisms, needs to do that. So this gets back to now, how we evolved from single-celled organisms to multicellular organisms. We had to have those processes as part of that evolution in order to form, in order to communicate between the cells, in order to make sure to form organs, and eventually to form organisms.